Kenneth Davis, a 36-year-old single professional, resides in a bustling city, having left his rural corn farming upbringing behind. Though he has experienced dating in the past, his inherent shyness has hindered his ability to take decisive action. Consumed by his full-time role in the product department at a major supermarket's headquarters, he finds little opportunity to meet new people, as his time is predominantly divided between work and home. The nostalgia of his childhood days, when he would assist his family during the harvest season, has since faded as the responsibilities of adulthood took precedence. Despite the abundance of small convenience and candy stores in the area, they remain just out of reach, limiting his access to everyday necessities. Growing up, I yearned to escape the confines of the countryside and venture into the bustling city life I had seen depicted in TV shows. During my high school years, this desire only intensified, and I became increasingly drawn to the allure of the city, especially after visiting New York with my friends. Quietly, I dedicated myself to my studies, harboring a secret plan to attend a university in New York after graduation. When the time came to make a decision about my future, I mustered the courage to share my ambition with my parents. I expressed my intention to take the entrance exam for a New York university, acknowledging that this would mean leaving home. I politely requested their financial support for tuition and initial living expenses, as I planned to supplement this with part-time work. However, my father reacted with vehement disapproval, exclaiming, "A university in New York? You're planning to leave home, but you're the eldest son of this household." Inheriting the family legacy can be a heavy burden to bear. While I suspected he might be displeased, I secretly wished he would embrace this opportunity. I'm afraid I cannot endorse this plan. Pursuing higher education in the city seems an unlikely path for the son of a farmer. The sensible choice would be to carry on the family tradition. I couldn't help but respond firmly to my father, who was quite dismissive. "I understand you grew up as the eldest son of a farmer, but I have my own path to follow. Shouldn't I be the one to decide my future? After all, you must see how much effort I've put into my studies." However, my father cut me off, saying, "Enough. I won't approve of this. Calm down and go to your room." I didn't engage with my father further, but my mother listened to my concerns. She had hoped I would take over the family business, but ultimately said, "Kenneth, you're a bright young man. Go and pursue your dreams at university." With her support, I took and passed the entrance exam on the first try. On the day I left for New York, my father had already gone to work, and I didn't get to see him. Still, my kind mother said, "Don't worry about your father. Take care and go," as she saw me off. I had long dreamed of this opportunity. To avoid overburdening my parents, I worked part-time to cover my living expenses. Nonetheless, I remained dedicated to my college studies. During my academic pursuits, I developed a keen interest in the retail industry. Upon graduating, I secured a position at a large supermarket. Initially, I had expected to be assigned to my preferred department immediately after completing the new employee training. However, it became clear that I needed to gain on-site experience first, as the department I aspired to was located at the company's headquarters. This meant starting in the store, where I was tasked with a variety of responsibilities, from serving customers at the cash register to restocking merchandise and assisting the merchandise manager. In my second year, I was entrusted with overseeing the general merchandise department, where I handled the creation of the sales floor, sales, ordering, and other related duties. Subsequently, I was given the opportunity to gain experience in various other departments, such as the food and confectionery sections, by transferring to different store locations. After a decade with the company, amidst retirements and generational changes, I was promoted to the product department at the headquarters, finally realizing my desired departmental transfer. In the product department at the headquarters, I accumulated valuable experience working alongside buyers. For about 2 months, I assisted various buyers before being officially appointed to oversee the confectionery department. My responsibilities were diverse, ranging from liaising with manufacturers, designing seasonal sales floor layouts, selecting products for special or daily promotions, to setting prices and supporting store staffing. The workload was substantial, demanding my full attention on a daily basis. While assisting the buyer, I was constantly learning, and my collaborative efforts with the buyer contributed to the smooth progression of my work. However, 6 months ago, a personnel change occurred among the buyers, and my direct supervisor was replaced. The new buyer was Amelia, a seasoned professional in charge of the food department. Although I had perceived her as a strict individual when interacting with her as a general worker at the headquarters, in her role as my direct superior, she proved to be even more stringent, communicating in a blunt and unforgiving manner. The role of the buyer was undoubtedly demanding, as it encompassed a majority of the store's sales area. Although the headquarters appeared to employ predominantly male staff, this female buyer had proven her mettle through diligent effort. It takes considerable fortitude to keep up with the responsibilities of this position. I believe I possess strong interpersonal skills, though I hesitate to boast. Regrettably, my colleague seems to take issue with my gentle demeanor and personality. What was the nature of that earlier phone conversation? Conveying the message and moving on would have been the prudent approach, yet I still have tasks to attend to. This is why I find the attitudes of country folk so vexing. Upon learning of my rural upbringing, she wasted no time in labeling me a country bumpkin, perhaps assuming that those from the countryside are intellectually inferior. I have never before been reprimanded for the pace of my work, but now I am subjected to the exasperated question, "Are you still doing that?" The other buyers, observing the situation, offered words of encouragement, urging me to focus on my duties and not worry excessively. While there were undoubtedly challenges, I pressed forward without dwelling on them. One day, we were scheduled to negotiate with a confectionery manufacturer, and I was set to accompany Amelia, the buyer, on this endeavor. In the discussion chambers, the bargaining process commenced. Both parties engaged in a deliberate exchange, carefully weighing their options and interests to reach a mutually agreeable resolution. The atmosphere was marked by a delicate balance of assertiveness and compromise, as each side strived to secure the best possible outcome for their respective stakeholders. "Kenneth, please get the documents." As Amelia, the buyer, had instructed, I was retrieving the papers from my bag. Suddenly, I stumbled, causing the documents to scatter across the floor. Oops, my apologies. I hurriedly gathered the materials, but Amelia shouted, "What's the meaning of this?" in her usual loud manner. Although we were at the manufacturer's office, she did not assist me in collecting the papers. Instead, she apologized to the person in charge, sighing and stating, "I'm sorry about this. He's just a country boy, so he's a bit clumsy." "Haven't you met Kenneth before? Was he always this awkward?" I had been assigned to work with him. Though more than a decade had passed since he left his rural hometown, the scent of the countryside still clings to a person raised deep in the mountains. After all, it's generally better for city dwellers to collaborate with their urban counterparts, isn't it? As I organized the materials, Amelia was relaying these sentiments to the person in charge. I had created an uncomfortable atmosphere, but the negotiations that day went well, and we returned to the headquarters. Here is a paraphrased version of the given text, maintaining the same length. The transaction had to be stopped abruptly. Amelia was also caught off guard by the unexpected development. Apparently, the issue stemmed from an incident during the previous day's negotiations. I was informed that the manufacturer's president had witnessed and overheard the conversation when I was organizing the scattered documents. Now that I think about it, one of the manufacturer's representatives had left their seat to fetch a laptop during that time. The negotiation room's door was open then. This is why Amelia's sarcastic comments seemed to have spilled out beyond the confines of the room. After that negotiation, the 3 representatives were summoned to the president's office, where he openly expressed his anger, questioning the buyer's behavior. He found it outrageous to mock someone simply because they hailed from the countryside. The reason was that the president's family home was a farm, and he often referred to it as the Candy due to the Material Manufacturers Association. Given the president's own rural background, his outrage was understandable. After the incident, our president apologized, but the other company's leader dismissed it, declaring, "If you want to work with us in the city, so be it. We're done cooperating with you." Despite our best efforts to convey our sincere remorse, the business partnership was reduced to 1/3 of its previous volume. This was a significant setback, as the manufacturer had been a long-standing supplier and occupied a substantial portion of our sales floor. Amelia, the employee deemed responsible, frantically reached out to other confectionery companies, negotiating to increase transactions and rushing to fill the gap in the store's inventory. I had to take on additional tasks to support her efforts. Amelia, clearly distressed by the situation, lashed out at me, saying, "I had a terrible experience because of you. Be prepared when this is resolved." However, our president and other colleagues placed the blame on Amelia, not me. The daily discomfort in my stomach was a familiar struggle, yet I soldiered on. Suddenly, a debilitating bout of dizziness struck, leaving me reeling and helpless in the office hallway. My vision swirled, rendering me unable to stand or move. Sensing my distress, a colleague promptly summoned medical assistance as I grew increasingly pale and sickly. The subsequent examination revealed Meniere's disease, requiring a day's hospitalization and intravenous treatment. Although I was able to return home with prescribed medication, the doctor attributed my condition to excessive stress, emphasizing the importance of adequate rest and recovery. Seeing my downcast face, the doctor seemed to sense something, wrote me a note, and kindly urged me, "You can take time off with this. Please rest well." So I decided to take a month off work. I was experiencing severe dizziness and felt unsteady even when going to the bathroom. I realized that living alone would be tough, so I called my mother for the first time in several months. Then I was told that my younger brother Tom would come to pick me up. I decided to stay at my parents' home. On the way home in the car, I said, "I'm sorry for making you come get me." This was the first thing that came to my mouth, something I felt I had to say. I had said the same thing when he came to get my luggage. In response, Tom said, "Well, if you can sleep, just sleep. I'll wake you up when we get home." It seemed like he was letting me know that I didn't have to force a conversation. When we arrived at my parents' home in Nebraska, my mother was waiting at the entrance, looking worried. "Welcome home. I've laid out the bed for you. Just rest." She gently stroked my staggering back and accompanied me to the room with Tom. While preparing to lie down in the room, my father came in, looking a bit restless. "Take your time. Don't worry about just a month. Make sure to get well before you go back." Despite his blunt words, I could tell from his expression that he was very concerned. "Sorry and thank you." My parents nodded, and my mother said, "We'll take care of your brother. I'll go prepare dinner," and they both headed to the living room. Tom helped me change clothes and packed my bags, working silently while the room filled with a quiet tension. Tom had come to pick me up with just one phone call, but like my father, I hadn't been in touch with him since I moved to New York. My mother called me every few months or so, and we would talk and hear about what was going on. But I had left home against my father's wishes after arguing with him about taking over the family business. I had put Tom in the situation, so I think that's why I felt guilty. Lying on the bed and looking up at my younger brother, I finally found my voice. "I'm sorry, Tom. It's too late, but I did something terrible to you, and I'm ashamed to be coming back like this." These were the words I'd wanted to say so many times, even trying to say them in the car. Then Tom became slightly amused and chuckled. "Haha, what are you talking about? You mean when you left home?" Sure, I also had pressure to take over from Dad when it came to choosing my path, but thanks to your precedent, I was allowed to go to culinary school. Well, I did end up taking over the firm, but you know I'm running a small pastry cafe as well. I'm doing what I love, so I don't think anything of it. That's what he said. With tears in my eyes, I said, "Really?" Then Tom, smiling shyly, said, "Anyway, just rest. I'll bring you something to drink. Just wait." Indulging in my family's kindness, I rested slowly. 3 weeks later, the dizziness had subsided, and I had enough energy to stroll around the house. I used to play in this little creek all the time when I was a kid, listening to the babbling of the river. I took a deep breath and absorbed nature into my body. The city is nice, but it doesn't compare to nature. I had even started to feel relaxed enough to say that in my adolescence, I found the countryside boring. But after experiencing life in the city, everything looked fresh, and I realized how wonderful an environment I had grown up in. There were so many realizations. Thinking it was about time to head home, I noticed a woman standing alone on the road. That's unusual, hiking alone. I was still at a distance from her, but watching her, I noticed she was slightly dragging her foot. "Are you okay? Did you hurt your foot?" I caught up with the woman and called out to her. "Oh, actually, the sole of my shoe came loose," she said with a distressed expression. It seemed she had been walking with her shoe flapping for quite a while, planning to catch a bus to her destination, but with only one bus every 2 hours, she had no choice but to continue walking like that. In doing so, she ended up with a blister. Then the woman showed me a pamphlet and said, "I was trying to get to this place called the Forest Cafe, but my feet were already hurting." I wanted to give up and go home, but my phone ran out of charge and I couldn't call anyone. The place she was aiming for was Tom's Cafe. "This is my family's place. Shall we go together?" Though it was just a blister, she was injured, so I carried her on my back to my family's home. Both my mom and brother Tom were surprised at what had happened, but seemed relieved to hear she was a guest. We took care of her injury and gave her some tea and cookies. "Delicious, and thank you for cleaning my wound." "I apologized for the piggyback ride earlier," she said. She was either smiling because of the delicious taste or blushing with embarrassment from the piggyback ride. Her cheeks flushed as she giggled. Honestly, I was the one who felt embarrassed. I hadn't noticed when I first spoke to her, as she was wearing her hat low, but she was quite a beauty, which made me a bit giddy. Both my mom and my brother Tom were happily talking to her. Her name was Mia, and it seems she works in New York just like me. She goes hiking or visits spas in the countryside a few times a year to refresh. Oh, it's already dusk. It gets dark quickly around here. "You're welcome to stay the night if you'd like," Mom offered. Though Mia hesitated, she sensed my mom's genuine concern and decided to stay. After dinner, as I was the last to get out of the bath, I found Mia still watching TV in the living room. "Would you like to have a drink together?" So we drank together. It had been a while since I drank with someone, and this was the first time with someone as beautiful as her. Maybe I drank too fast, but I got quite drunk. Before I knew it, I was babbling about not having a wife or even a girlfriend at this age, why I was resting at my family's place, and complaining about Amelia. Then Mia said, "As a thank you for helping me, I'll give you something special when we return to New York. Please look forward to it." She said this with a mischievous expression on her cute face. I must admit that it made my heart skip a beat, but that's between us. The night wore on, and we each went to sleep in our rooms. When I woke up the next morning, it was almost noon. I had slept deeply because of the heavy drinking. Mia had left early in the morning, thanking my parents before returning to New York. That was fun, I thought. I couldn't get her out of my mind for a while. Then 3 days passed, and just as I was feeling down about returning to work, I got a call on my phone from the department manager. When I answered, he seemed flustered. "Did you do something while you were off? Anyway, come to work as soon as you can," the department manager said before hanging up. Reluctantly, I took the night flight back to New York and arrived at the office around noon the next day. As instructed, I was surprised by the warm welcome. But the reason was that the manufacturer we had reduced our dealings with had contacted us to continue trading as before. However, the condition was that I handle it. My mind was still in rest mode. I couldn't catch up. Anyway, the next day, I was to visit the manufacturer. "Excuse me," as I opened the door to the meeting room, the woman in the center immediately said, "Kenneth, hello. I'm the vice president." "Davis? No way." I couldn't help but shout. The woman was Mia, whom I had met at my family's home, and she was apparently the president's daughter of this manufacturer. I hadn't noticed since I had only heard her first name at that time. Usually, she doesn't participate in negotiations, but she would this time. Even the department manager accompanying me was astounded. The negotiation began in a friendly atmosphere. Not only was it about reviving the cut product, but also the delivery of a large quantity of new products. Remember when I said I'd give you something special? These new sweets are what I've been working on. Mia happily showed me the new products, but it was too soon to be surprised or delighted. They proposed to prioritize the delivery of the new product and stock it heavily on the shelves, aiming for a further increase in sales. Our company has become the first to sell it more than any other store, and that new product was heavily stocked with the launch of the new commercial. If you go to that store, you can buy it. The information spread instantly through customers' social media posts. In fact, popular celebrities appeared in commercials for this new product, with limited edition merchandise included with the candy. There was a huge rush of customers to our stores as a result. Confectionery department sales were at an all-time high. I was thanked not only by the product manager, but directly by the CEO. After that, it was decided that this achievement should be properly evaluated, and I was promoted to a confectionery buyer. As for Amelia, she was, needless to say, demoted. She was transferred to another department and started working as an assistant. Since then, this was the trigger for building a good relationship with MIA's company as a client. I'm thinking of visiting your family again. Why don't you come with me and show your family how you're doing? I had no reason to refuse her invitation like that. And now, Mia and I are going back to my hometown. How did you like it? Subscribing to our channel will motivate us to produce more content. See you in the next video.